Elon Musk explains his riveting vision of the future in a 5-hour interview. Acting the stock, which is way up this morning. In my humble opinion, no news of the past week, good, bad, or indifferent, seems to be impacting Tesla stock. It has pretty much followed the major tech stocks around. I'll continue to maintain that Tesla investors are waiting for significant progress on robotaxi, and only that will move the stock significantly, and if enough progress, very significantly, as in back to 500 or more. But the interview certainly can't hurt. Elon's vision is breathtaking, like a great novel. I had to force myself to turn it off last night or risk being useless to you guys this morning. Speaking of turn pager novels, the Elon Musk Magic, the third in the series, after the Elon Musk Method and the Elon Musk Mission, it is written completely differently. It's like a Ludlum novel, but factual at its core. I need you to help me make this book into a super stratospheric seller, and it'll cost you $2.99 to help me. So if you haven't done it yet, please send a quick note to randykirk77@gmail, and that information will be, of course, in the description, as it always is, randykirk77@gmail. And just say, I'm in, I'll help. I'll spend the $2.99. It'll be okay. And then I'll send you an advance copy. You'll get it ahead of everybody else. All right, let's go into this interview. Elon Musk chose well for his tech bro interview with Dwarkesh Patel and John Collison on their podcast. The interview, in this case, stands out for Elon's bold predictions on AI, robotics, energy, civilization scale challenges. The discussion was wide ranging. It was engineer focused. It was engineering, very different. These guys are really smart. He is optimistic about overcoming bottlenecks through first principles thinking, of course. Here are the most impactful highlights. One, space as the future hub for AI compute. Musk predicted that in 36 months, but maybe closer to 30, space will become the most economically compelling place for AI inference and training. Orbital solar power is on the order of 5 times more effective. It has no atmosphere, night, or weather, and potentially 10x cheaper without needing batteries or heavy structures. He went into great detail about how this is going to work, and I'm beginning to believe it. He then goes on beyond that to talk about things that are just otherworldly in terms of the number of satellites and the way they would be sent into space from the moon and whatnot. I mean, we're going into new territory. Then he says, number two, massive orbital scaling plans. He outlined launching 100 gigawatts of compute power to orbit every single year. Then eventually ramping up to 1 terawatt per year. Now, this 100 gigawatts, he's talking about within 5 years. And this would require 10,000 Starship launches per year. And he says that could be achievable with only 30 Starships. That would be flights every 30 hours. By the way, he says, but this is not so crazy. He says we have, way more aircraft lifting off every day, even among commercial aircraft. So, number three, the Earth's energy will be a bottleneck for AI. AI scaling has shifted from chips to electricity as the main constraint. So, what's holding us back? He says he believes that later this year we'll be building chips that we can't turn on. It'll be just not be impossible. He says the U.S. average power use is about 0.5 terawatts. Tripling it for AI is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to triple that. And there's just no way to do that with existing stuff. Although one of the ways will be, of course, with Tesla Solar, but that's going to take a couple of years to ramp up. Number four, Optimus Academy for robot training. Tesla plans an Optimus Academy with 10 to 30,000 humanoid robots doing real-world self-play to close the sim-to-reality gap. They'll be training on diverse tasks, and this supports scaling up to 1 million Optimus Generation 3 units per year next year. By the way, I was the first one, I believe, of anybody, anywhere, the first person on Earth to ever suggest the idea that there would be, I thought, 1,000 Optimus robots that would be sitting in a warehouse someplace, all experimenting with different things, trying to become good at different tasks. I even had an elaborate plan where there would be, one employee per every 10 of these. They'd be going 24 hours a day. Go back and look at my videos on this if you don't believe me. This is, I want to say 3 years ago. So my number was just wrong. Instead of 1,000, it's 10 to 30,000 of these. All right. Number 5, humanoid robots are an infinite money glitch. Optimus could solve labor shortages and multiply productivity massively. The hardest engineering challenge is the hand, requiring in-house actuators and sensors, everything about the robot. He says every single part of the robot has had to be developed brand new from first principles, unique product, every actuator, every switch, every gear, he says, had to be developed in-house. Number 6, there's a geopolitical edge. This is very important. He says geopolitical edge versus robotics. He says the U.S. can't match China's labor volume. They have 4 times our population. They can't match we can't match their manufacturing intensity. So he says the only way we're going to keep up with China is with robots. So this becomes a strategic necessity. And President Trump has been noting what things are strategic necessities. I could make an argument, and I think Elon just did, that the Optimus robots will be the most important strategic element of the economic war with China. And I suggested yesterday, why do we need to have a war anymore? When everybody's going to be wealthy, why do we care whether China has more robots or we do? But in the interim, for the next 10 years, I think this is going to be an issue. And this is the only way we're going to be able to compete. So think about that for a minute. Number 7, xAI's safety versus mind debuggers. To avoid deception or reward hacking, xAI is developing tools to trace errors back to specific neurons or training data. Musk emphasized that there needs to be rigorous truth seeking. He says, don't make your AIs lie. He says, like Hal in Space Odyssey, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Number 8, digital human emulation. This is another big deal. Brian Wang and I were talking about this Wednesday night. Musk forecast solving AI that can autonomously operate computers like humans. You may remember a couple of weeks ago, we reported on another interview by an xAI, an xXAI. There you go. He used to be an xAI employee at a high rank, but he did an interview where I think he exposed too much. And he talked about the xAI watching you do what you do on your computer and then emulating you. And then, and you could just do that with everybody in an entire company. Think about that. Starship Engineering Insights, number 9. The pivot to stainless steel from carbon fiber was due to the physics advantages at cryogenic temperatures. Elon explains in detail how other kinds of materials did better at room temperature, but at cryogenic, it was better to use stainless steel. This is a crazy way that this man thinks. 10, government inefficiency is the civilizational bottleneck. Reflecting on Doge, Musk argued regulatory hurdles and fraud are just getting in the way of everything. Simple fixes like database cross-checks could save billions immediately and enable faster scaling. So anyway, I would highly recommend you go listen to the entire interview. These points will tie into Musk's overarching vision of abundance through AI, robotics, and energy, with space as the ultimate enabler. The interview sparked significant discussions on X and tech sites for its ambitious timelines and physics-grounded optimism. Similarly, though, the news about Epstein doesn't seem to have hurt the stock. Here's current situation on that one, given to you without the bias that I could easily have. Based on recent disclosures from the U.S. Department of Justice, there's evidence of direct communication between Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein that goes beyond what Musk has publicly acknowledged in the past. This stems from a massive release of the Epstein files over the last couple of weeks. During this period, several years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor, Musk appears to have expressed interest in visiting Epstein's private Caribbean island, infamously known as Little St. James, which has been linked to Epstein's criminal activities. Specific exchanges include Musk asking about the wildest party on the island and attempting to coordinate logistics for visits, sometimes mentioning bringing a companion. Epstein also offered to arrange helicopter transport. Musk has consistently denied any deep ties, stating he never visited the island, never flew on Epstein's plane, and refused invitations, calling Epstein a creep in a past interview and reiterating this in early February 2026. According to, he said he had very little correspondence and no wrongdoing on his part. There's no public evidence that Musk actually ever visited the island or participated in any way in Epstein's illegal activities, and the emails don't indicate awareness or involvement in Epstein's crimes. However, the communications contradict his earlier claims that the overtures were one-sided, showing that Musk actively engaged. This qualifies as smoke in the sense of questionable association with the convicted sex offender. It could also reasonably damage Musk's reputation among critics. However, most of us folks are probably not going to pay much attention to it. Core supporters often dismiss controversies as media bias or FUD, and he has survived worse scandals in the past. Broader scrutiny has intensified in 2026 amid his company's challenges, but it's not career-ending without proof of criminality. As for Tesla stock, the revelations appear to have contributed to short-term pressure, maybe last week. Reports indicate shares dropped significantly, but they were dropping because of lots of other reasons. Tesla's board is reportedly facing questions over governance as two members, including Musk, are implicated, his brother also. Tesla stock has been volatile for months, and so it seems this is unlikely to be an issue. Also, in the interview was Elon's statement that a new solar fab would be 100% vertically integrated from the sand to the final product. He also confirmed that both Tesla and SpaceX will be involved in this project, and there's been a lot of reporting about possible locations. Tesla is scouting locations to start or expand solar cell production. And primary options include right now, so far, based on reporting, expanding the existing Gigafactory New York Buffalo facility. That would make a lot of sense. Sources say capacity there could scale up to 10 gigawatt, which would be equivalent to about 10 nuclear plants. Are you ready for that? Just in Buffalo, they could just scale up to the equivalent of 10 nuclear plants. A second larger plant might even be built on or near the same site to get even greater scale. Arizona and Idaho have been mentioned. These are under consideration for new greenfield facilities or major expansions. Other states may also be in the mix, though not named specifically. This is part of the broader push to build vertically integrated solar manufacturing, driven by his view that it's the only way that it's going to happen. So we got levels of what's going to happen here. You've got the the batteries that'll be going out and hopefully making their grid more effective. You've got the little bit of solar that's already being produced. You've got maybe ramping up that solar in the next 3 years as he gets ready to really do the big time solar stuff, where both of the companies, both SpaceX and Tesla will be involved. And maybe by the time that happens, it will be one company. Barron's had this technical update on Tesla stock this morning. Early today, shares briefly slipped into bear market territory, trading more than 20% below their recent 52-week high. That area coincided with bearish shooting star candle just shy of the very round 500 level. So right at 390 would be this 50% drawdown. The stock is now finding a potential floor near a very round $400 level, just above the upwardly sloping 200-day simple moving average. This marks Tesla's first test of that long-term trend line since it broke above a symmetrical triangle in September. The brief dip below 400 appears similar to the November pullbacks, which lasted 2 sessions. From here, a massive move back towards 500 by the end of the first quarter wouldn't be surprising. I don't think that's going to happen without significant increases in what's happening with robotaxi, but I also believe there will be significant increases in that activity. On the monthly chart, the article goes on to say the influence of the $400 level is hard to ignore. The stock first tested this area in November 2021, printing a doji candle, often a powerful signal of potential trend change. That ultimately proved prescient as shares worked their way back towards 100 in January of 2023, when a bullish piercing line gave investors the green light to catch the proverbial falling knife. The stock returned to 400 area again in December 2024, when I predicted it almost the day, and January 2025, when that first resulted in a double top, where Brian Wang and I predicted that the price would be in that range. Fast, actually higher, and Brian won that battle because he said 450 and it went to 498 or whatever, 489 at that time. Fast forward to today, and Tesla has now logged 5 consecutive monthly closes above 400, increasing the likelihood that this formal resistance level has been transitioned into a durable floor of support. I think that one, the article concludes, can enter here, which I intend to do later today, and use a stop. Unfortunately, I could have got it yesterday, but the money didn't come in until last night. I think one can enter here and use a stop below 370. At current levels, the risk reward appears favorable and the setup presents a compelling opportunity. Sawyer Merritt, he says, Tesla has filed 2 new trademark applications for the word marks cyber car and cyber vehicle in preparation for launching the cyber cab, where in some U.S. states, Tesla is not allowed to use the word cab or taxi. Elon alluded on the Tesla Q4 earnings call that was a problem for the company. They would need to find a new name. So there's 4 names that people are thinking about. We've got cyber car and cyber vehicle. All right. Sawyer Merritt also has this. He says, last year marked a historic inflection point for battery energy storage systems. Global operational storage capacity surpassed 250 gigawatts, overtaking pumped hydropower energy storage for the first time. Annual additions exceeded 100 gigawatts, nearly triple the volumes added in 2023, reflecting a compound annual growth rate of over 100% between 2020 and 2025. And most of this, of course, would be Tesla. This is Randy Kirk, by the way. Yeah, you knew that, right? Okay, hit subscribe. Just hit, that's it. That's all you need to do. I have some agreement. I have some agreement with the following article from the Wall Street Journal, except that I'm not sure how it would impact Tesla stock, as Tesla is not a SaaS business. But they're claiming that Tesla might have. Anyway, here's the idea. According to the article, on Thursday, Anthropic unleashed the most advanced model yet, capable of synthesizing data and analysis, running teams of coding assistants. And it functions akin to product management. This is a lot like what Elon is talking about in terms of human emulation, only Elon's idea is even more wild. Shares of software companies, including Salesforce, Intuit, and others, fell again Thursday, although less precipitously than they had earlier in the week. The viral moment for Anthropic's models is the most important thing that's happened in AI since ChatGPT's launch, said Dean Ball, a senior fellow at the Foundation for American Innovation who writes an artificial intelligence newsletter. It's infinitely interesting. And then, of course, you had OpenClaw, which has caused even more excitement and interest. Watch the also 2.5, I think, super long moonshot broadcast from yesterday. Industry prognostic, say that easy, say that over. I actually love that word. Industry prognosticators, there you go, and AI evangelists have spent months foretelling the toll that Anthropic and other sophisticated AI tools would have on software as a service companies that were the darlings of the previous internet era. Tools made by such companies as Workday, Monday.com, and Adobe have become the digital background of much of corporate America. Anthropic's tools, which include so-called agents that can act autonomously to carry out increasingly complex user requests for hours or even overnight, have offered a preview of the threat that sophisticated AI models would hold for these entire SaaS companies. The startup has fought its way to the forefront of the AI conversation with a novel strategy focusing on safety, software engineering, and business customers. Watch out, Salesforce. The result, a broader business reckoning that has left corporate leaders asking what it will mean when an AI system can easily replicate expertise developed over a lifetime of coding, or in the case of companies, years of corporate development. Okay, so I think there's some fire here, but I maintain that businesses will continue to need help. I remember I was a consultant to small business for the last until a few weeks ago, the last 17 years. And I maintain that these businesses, they're not going to just go it alone on this stuff and hope that it works. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to need help. They're going to need people to come in and walk them through, set them up, get them going, provide them with all the details of the hardware and whatever the software looks like at that time. So I think some of the SaaS companies like Salesforce will figure it out. Maybe not, but I think that either there'll be new companies that'll come in that will do these taskings, because it's not going to happen. Even companies with 500, 1,000 employees, they're not going to be able to get the expertise together where they feel satisfied that they can switch to these kinds of new ideas. Forbes says this morning that this is wild. Okay, listen up now. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has warned he wouldn't be surprised if China is building a U.S. dollar and Bitcoin challenger based on gold. Bessent said there are lots of rumors of Chinese digital assets possibly being backed by something other than its currency, the yuan, and it might be gold, but that the U.S. could not confirm such claims. In November, U.S. President Donald Trump said China is trying to take on the U.S. as the world's capital of crypto, warning that China is getting into it very, very bigly. No, he didn't say that. Very, very big right now, but he didn't specify how. The gold price, of course, has rocketed higher in recent months in what's been described as a debasement trade, as investors bet against government-issued currencies and spurred by central banks around the world buying up huge amounts of gold, and private individuals. They always forget to mention that. Central bank gold purchases rose by 10% in the year to September, according to the World Gold Council. This was led by Poland, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and China. Azerbaijan and China. China is moving toward a digital currency that is likely backed by gold, according to Otávio Costa, the chief executive of the Zurian capital. He posted this on X. This is a hugely important and still underappreciated development. Okay, now this is breaking news right now. Consumer sentiment was essentially unchanged, inching up less than 1 index point from last month and sitting about 20% below last year at this time. Sentiment surged for consumers with the largest stock portfolios, while it stagnated and remained at dismal levels for consumers without stock holdings. On net, modest increases in current personal finances and buying conditions for durables were offset by a small decline in long-run business conditions. While sentiment is currently the highest since August of 2025, recent monthly increases have been small, well under the margin of error, and the overall level of sentiment remains very low from a historical perspective. Concerns about the erosion of personal finances from the high prices and elevated risk of job. Notice he doesn't say high inflation anymore. He says from the high prices. And the high prices were caused by the last administration. The high prices and the elevated risk of job loss. I think people need to be concerned about the elevated risk of job loss until they're not. I think they'll find that there's nothing to worry about. But I understand the reasons for worrying, especially with regard to AI. Interviews for this release covered the 2-week period that ended this past Monday. Year ahead inflation expectations fell again from 4.0 last month to 3.5. What he doesn't mention is it's been falling dramatically. People 6 months ago on their survey thought that inflation might be at 7%. Now it's all the way down to 3.5 in their opinion. And of course, you and I know it's a lot lower. This month's reading still exceeds those in 2024 and remain well above the 2.3 to 3% range since in the 2 years pre-pandemic. That's what they were thinking it would be. Long-run inflation expectations inched up actually from 3.3 to 3.4. In comparisons, readings ranged between 2.8 and 3.2 in 2024. So in 2024, when the inflation was out of control, they were wrong then too. So here's Trueflation this morning, back down under 1% on the overnights to 0.99. Goods under 1% at 0.93. Core inflation at 1.32. Services at 1.03. And the PCE at 1.28. Expect to see these start to show up in the March readings. Maybe next week in the CPI. We'll see. Okay, so what about what's happening right now? Well, because I'm going to be buying Tesla later today, we are all the way back to 411. I could have bought it 390 yesterday. This is not good. Anyway, but it's good for us. It's good for everybody. 411, we're up 3.47. The Dow Jones is up 1.70. The NASDAQ is up 1.20, and the S&P is up 1.27. That's strong for the S&P. You've got the Magnificent Seven almost all, well, mostly doing well. You've got Apple and NVIDIA up. NVIDIA's up 6.47. 6.4. Let that sink in. But Google is down 2. Microsoft is up a little. Amazon is down 8.11 in addition to yesterday's 10%. No, 6%. So a total of 14% down over 2 days. Meta is also down 2%. The VIX has recovered some. It's down to 19.21. And then the Cathie Woods are all up except for PayPal, which is close to being up. All right, so let's look at the bonds. And the bonds were doing better, but now they're doing worse, up 1.4 basis points back to 4.22. You can't make this stuff up. You've got oil up 61 cents to 63.90, staying a little bit in the higher end of the range. Now, you know that the United States is beating with Iran, I think right now, or already has. So I'm not sure how those talks are going. You've got natural gas up 1.68. $3.57 is starting to seem a little high, but not too bad. Gold up 86.70 today, back to 4,976. But silver is not playing along. It's down 0.44 to 76,375. You've got copper up a little bit, 0.74 at $5.86. The dollar is down a little bit against every currency. But by the way, I did do that dollar study, and I can tell you again that it's right in the middle of the range that it's been for 10, 20, 30 years. And so I think it's not a worry and not a concern. And quite a few people are now saying that they expect it to start moving back up again. Bitcoin, if you bought in yesterday morning, you did well. It is now back up a little bit at up almost $5,000 to 68,488, which is still a very low point for Bitcoin. Ethereum is up 6.20 at 1978. And there you go. Those are the numbers for today. Later, we'll have Larry Goldberg followed by Brian Wang. Both of those shows are going to be fascinating because I know what they're already going to be about, even though we haven't shot them yet. And over the weekend, we'll probably have Larry Goldberg and I doing the Kathy Wood show, assuming Kathy does the report tonight. Now, the jobs numbers are coming out next Wednesday. Will she hold up on it and do the report on Wednesday night? Maybe. So that's a little bit tentative right now, but push subscribe and notify so that you get notified if I do have that Larry program tomorrow, because this is going to be fantastic. Now, Super Bowl's going to screw things up, but believe me, there will still be my Sunday night show, which is one of the most popular shows of the week, where we talk about Monday morning and the rest of the week. And next week is going to be, I mean, jobs, CPI. Yeah, it's going to be, and there's way more coming out next week. So you're going to want to, I think, hear a little bit of the analysis of what all that's going to mean. I think, oh yeah, last night, oh yeah, Sir Basher, another huge show, and also Bradford Ferguson. I will put both of those up, and you can go back and check those if you have time. That I think I'm exhausted. I'm out of breath. I'm sorry that it was so long this morning, but there was a lot to talk about. And last thing last, please go to Randy Kirk 77 at Gmail. That information is right below. And just send me a note. I'm in. I'm willing to help the old man with his trilogy, well, the third book of the trilogy, the Elon Musk Magic. Sign up. It's only going to cost you $2.98. But if you can't afford it, I understand. Don't do it. It's been great talking to you.